Warning. The following features some mild language, controversial opinions, and wrestling references. Viewer discretion is advised. What is up, Robot Wars fans? Hardcore Kid here with a very spooky edition of the Hardcore Podcast. To my left of me, the absolutely traumatizing Nate Otaku.
That's right. And, hey, get my name right for once.
Otaku Nate.
I'm traumatizing in that I am extremely obnoxious and people don't like me all that well. At least I think people don't like me.
Oh, come on. Everyone loves you.
Yeah, usually when I ask if people don't like me, if they think I'm annoying, they always just say that, hey, you're okay.
When you apply for Robot Wars, they ask, is Nate on your team? And if you say yes, then you don't get on.
Are you awkward?
Very.
Well, we have some guests with us tonight. Actually, it's an all-Roboteer guest tonight. We have two robot drivers who competed tonight in what I like to call the Elite Heat, which had 6, or technically 7 robots. All are veterans, and all have had some success over the years. We had the top 3 seeds. We had former FRA champion Big Nipper. We had the arena-shattering Crackers and Smash. And, of course, we had the greatest Axelbot in history, Gabriel. And I think we shall start off with a guy who we've been trying to get on the show a few times, but we had a couple little hiccups here and there. What happened?
First time he was at a robotics event and we couldn't reach him. Second time he was set to be on, but then his bowels decided to disagree with him. And now the third time is the charm. So
we have, of course, Dave Weston of Crackers.
Hi there.
How you doing, Dave?
He got the smash.
He's got the smash.
He's got the gloves, man.
Oh yeah. Where can I get a pair of those gloves?
Any good alternative shop, I would hope.
Awesome. Come on, let's go to Hot Topic now. Yeah, but Dave, and we also have the builder of arguably the greatest Axelbot of all time. He made it to the Heat final in Series 8, but came up short. And he came back, and he had arguably the best match of the show so far. It is, of course, Craig Colliass.
Hello, good evening.
Hi.
The master of mayhem, Craig Colliass. Oh wait, someone else has already got that name.
Or Craig, I like to call him Craig Colossus. That sounds like an awesome name.
I call it Colliass, but I guess it's just a potato thing.
Yeah, Behemoth Behemoth. And, of course, we have Alexthehunted with us again.
Yay.
And
I'm actually not getting the piss taken out of you this time on the intro.
No worry, And apparently you now have Mantis 2 with you, Alex?
Actually, no, I'm picking it up in November, but yes, I've been to see it. I've started work on it, yeah.
So we pretty much have an all-Roboteer show tonight. Woo!
Yeah. We've got 2 who competed and 1 who is there who can give us some great behind-the-scenes intro from a fan's perspective anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before we start, we want to give one final shout-out, and that is to Alex Brown of TR2 fame for another successful eBay auction. He, right after in between Series 9 and 10, he had an auction where you could actually go on eBay and bid on memorabilia or pieces of robots that competed on Robot Wars.
You could have bought Beta's hammer.
Yeah, for like that went for like 300 quid. What'd you say, Dave?
I was going to say, a lot of the parts went for obscene amount, but at least it was for a good cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How much did Danton Kier go for? Like they went for like $1,000, didn't it?
300 was
At
it?
least.
Last time I checked, it was like £300, but I think it probably went up to at least $1,000. But
Oh, no, it went through the roof.
Well, in the insanity, I managed to get a hand on a piece of King B Powerworks' chassis, as well as the Mechatron's trophy and a little medal. And Nate got, I believe, arguably the greatest of them all, the Bum Axe from TR2.
Yeah, it got 2 HDPE side panels, one of the side spikes, and the almighty Bum Axe.
Yeah.
And I'm holding it in my hands right now, and if you dare say anything funny, I'm putting this thing right between your eyes.
Yeah, you can definitely murder somebody with that thing. But yeah, a big congratulations and a big thank you to Alex. And with that in mind, I guess we'll move on to the heat of the Elite And I guess we shall start let's start off with the real star of the show, and that is, of course, Gabriel.
I love this thing.
Or Gabriel 2. You gotta get the 2 in there.
I'm just gonna say Gabriel.
Gabriel. So, Craig, Gabriel 2. What improvements have you made to it since Series 8?
Basically, Gabriel 2 is a different robot. What we did was we found that the structure of the front armor wasn't going to be able to cope with spinners as well as we'd hoped. So we completely redesigned the actual chassis of the thing. And although it looks very similar on the outside, inside it's almost completely different.
And you got some new weapons on here. I saw it's got like a mace with like little shuriken pieces hanging off the end.
Okay, yeah. The idea was so that we'd actually it was really the plan B for if we were up against Carbide. Basically, bar spinners have an inherent weakness. The bar actually, as it were, leaves the body of the robot, goes around the front of the robot, and then enters back into the robot to start again. And the idea was to actually jam the mace in to actually catch between the bar of the bar spinner and the chassis of the robot. And you have a situation where you then jam up the bar spinner. Effectively, what we were hoping was an immovable object would meet an unstoppable force, and then hopefully their robot would break.
All I was, because I was there for that fight, is all I'll say is you were so close to taking out the champion.
I know. When I saw that Carbide's wheel broke and it got stuck on it, I thought Gabriel was gonna win and Carbide was gonna lose by getting stuck on its wheel.
They were so close to being counted out, I believe. Like, because it doesn't show in the edit of the fight, but they were stuck on that wheel for quite a while.
I must admit, when I was sat in the audience and I was, having been a judge on fights before, I was thinking the same thing. Like, they must start counting it soon.
What I want to know is what happened to that wheel? Like, how did it break in half like that?
I don't actually know. I didn't actually see it break, but what I assume happened was that we actually swung one time with the mace, and we must have just caught the edge of the tire and then reversed off and literally pulled the tire off of the rim. I mean, it's one of those ones that people forget. First and foremost, at the beginning of this fight, we actually stopped Big Nipper.
Oh, you did?
So 30 seconds, Carbide was just out of the way thinking, well, we're just going to try and kill whoever wins this, the bout between Gabriel and Big Nipper. And we actually broke Big Nipper. We damaged both the motor and the speed controller on one side.
I was wondering what happened because you could just see like they were very Big Nipper for the start were like holding back, and then they just seemed to die.
How you managed to get a loose nut inside a sealed machine like that, Craig? That takes some doing.
Magic.
Just shows the power of Gabriel as a thwackbot, man.
Yeah, like going in, I'm sure a lot of people were very skeptical about Gabriel because when I saw that Gabriel was going to be up against Carbide, I thought, oh no. But you know what? It kept going. It lasted the full match against Carbide, and it actually caused problems for the champion. It's amazing.
And Gabriel's the only robot to go 3 minutes with a working Carbide. I mean, yes, TR2 and Apollo went 3 minutes with Carbide, but Carbide broke halfway through those fights. So you're the only team to go full 3 minutes with a fully working Carbide. And if it went 5 minutes, I honestly think Carbide would have probably exploded. The battery probably would have exploded.
Yeah. Much respect to Toby too, to go up against the reigning champion and still be able to make it through there. He's a good driver, I got to say.
Yes, he is. He does very well. I'm fortunate in as much that I've got both Zach, who actually drove in Series 8, Gabriel in Series 8, and also Toby now, who's driven in Series 9 and 10, actually. Both of them are very, very competent drivers. Unlike myself, I'm completely useless.
Well, at least
you build it. You know how to build it, though. That's the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In regards to the Carbide fight, one of the things I'd actually say is that I actually I must have been the only person who actually genuinely thought we were in with a shout at the beginning. Because,
no, I thought you were, because I thought you were, because I seen you in against Pulsar and Ironside 3 in Series 8, and I mean, this was basically the ultimate test of Gabriel's wheels, and you came off it better than Carbide did.
Well, actually, at the end of the fight, although the wheels looked really, really sort of mangled up, essentially, if the producers had said to me, Craig, we need your robot back in the arena to fight again, and you've got 15 minutes, I would have had enough time to have got the robot ready and also had a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Essentially, needed to undo 8 nuts, take the wheels off. I had 2 spare sets of wheels on the bench. I could have banged them on, put a new weapon on the top. I already had batteries, another set of batteries charged. Like I said, I could have probably got it in the arena in about 6 or 7 minutes, and then went and had a cup of tea.
It's always good to have spares on hand.
Yeah. How many spare wheels of Gabriel do you have?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I did have 6 spares, but now I'm down to 4.
I'm sure now that they've got spinners back on the live circuit, you better start making more, man.
It shouldn't be too hard. You just take a mill, grab a gigantic sheet of HDPE, and start milling.
I mean, the doors in the shop I work there for the freezer, they're made out of that stuff. So if you just come over one day, I'm sure I can help you steal them or something.
Yeah, well, yeah, Craig, keep it up with Gabriel. It's good to see you're still competing with it, and it's still alive, and it's still with us.
I love Gabriel. It's my favorite robot of the modern series.
And
I'm gonna just say that right out.
If it wasn't for Gabriel, we wouldn't have gotten Huge.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody loves Huge.
Actually, I've got to ask. Actually, because speaking.
What's up,
I was
Dave?
going to say, speaking of Huge, why doesn't have you ever thought about doing the Huge route and just putting a big bar in the middle of Gabriel?
I'm not a great fan of spinners. I actually like the idea of a torque reaction robot. I did actually have a featherweight spinner like that called Seraph, I think it was. No, actually, I was wrong. It's actually called Gabriel. And in the
Axe robot.
it's one of the big.
Originally, it was a mini version of Saint, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2 different ones.
Yeah.
I remember it because it looked like a Segway.
Yes. Yeah. And well, I've actually done a sort of a spinner-esque version of in a featherweight already. And I didn't really enjoy it much, so I went back to the torque reaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, awesome stuff. So
It was an amazing fight. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, I thought the Apollo Behemoth fight was my favorite so far. Nope, that one's definitely my favorite. Oh,
Dave fell out.
Dave fell out.
He'll be back.
Oh well, I guess until he comes back on, we'll move on to let's move on to Big Nipper, shall we? Because I have to say, I was both really impressed and at the same time a little bit disappointed with Big Nipper because the first round, once Craig got that hit in, it was just stuck going around in circles the entire time. But once they came back in the losers bracket, holy mackerel, this thing has power.
I mean, when we start talking about start talking about Big Nipper and Dave just disappears.
Oh, we scared him off. Oh dear. But yeah, I mean, Big Nipper, like I said, it's a phenomenally engineered machine. I loved the little lifty, grabby claws back in the original series. Now they come back with that big spinner on it, and holy mackerel, this thing rivals. You take a look at some of those big vertical spinners that have gotten Sudas like Cyclone and Exterminator. This thing just sent Smash flying out. Not like literally right to the ceiling.
I think that's an all-time record, not just like even beating some of the flipper records.
Yeah, like Wheelie Big Cheese didn't even get Axaw that high.
And it hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Crackers is the first robot to hit Smash is the first robot to hit the ceiling.
Oh hey Dave, we were just talking about what happened.
Yeah, we moved on to Big Nipper now. I know.
And then you dropped Cole. How cool?
I guess panicked.
Yeah.
But the infernal technology, I can't be dealing with it.
It's all right. The day will come when we have holograms of everybody.
And they'll still be glitchy and won't work.
Yeah. So, but Dave, what do you think of Big Nipper?
I really like Big Nipper. I think it was innovative, certainly for even when it was first built. They've just adapted as the series have gone on. I mean, the fact that they've managed to get brushless drive to work so effectively in that robot has been slightly annoyed that they've gone with the disc more often than the pincers, because I like the versatility of the grab and the lift.
I do too.
But as a machine, actually, how it was.
They can get out of the arenas with both of them. They can get out of the arenas with the claws and the disc.
Yeah, because I remember they got U2 out of the arena that one time. Just grabbed it and just threw it over the wall, and then had to yank the bungee cords out of it. It was nasty. But yeah, really good. Craig, what do you think of Big Nipper?
Actually, they're probably one of my favorite robot teams, mainly because they're not spinners and they're not flippers. So it's one of those things that in the US, it appears that most people migrate towards the spinner and the wedge. In the UK, people seem to actually migrate towards the wedge flipper. And it's always nice to have Axbots like Thor and when Big Nipper are on the live circuit, normally they have the grabber configuration. And Gabriel and Big Nipper, that's a fight to see. On the live circuit, we've done it a few times now, and it's a brawl. It really is a brawl. It's just sort of like this. It's a bit like two drunk people come out of the pub and decide hitting each other. We're just like everything happens. It's crazy. I mean, there are a few videos on YouTube of the Manchester event, and Gabriel and we actually tried to fix it. That Gabriel and Big Nipper were in the arena because we just love fighting each other so much. In fact, you can actually see a couple of times that Big Nipper actually used for wheels. They actually use ice hockey pucks.
Do they? That gets grip on the floor, does it?
No,
Yeah.
It's actually bonded. It's actually bonded rubber. It just unfortunately they shred like 3 wheels that event for some reason. The same wheel 3 times, and I couldn't figure out.
You got a whole stack of hockey pucks right there, Nate. Go ahead and build a robot of yourself with those.
Hey, you know what? I may as well, because hockey pucks are pretty hard. I mean, I speak from experience. I've taken pucks to... Yeah, I'm not going to go there, but trust me, it hurts.
Yeah, but Big Nipper...
Ice hockey puck wheels. I'm a ice hockey fan, and I can approve.
Make an Antweight Gabriel out of hockey pucks.
Yeah, you probably could. Although, let's see. I'm holding a hockey puck from the Devils Senators finals of the Eastern Conference, and I don't know. You could probably drill a hole in there, get some hubs, get some mounds.
Well, hockey pucks, I think they're like just under a pound, and I don't know what the weight limit for ants are, but
the weight limit is 1 pound.
Yeah, I don't think this thing's getting in the arena.
I don't know. Maybe you can make a beetle weight or something. Who knows?
Or you could always mill out the middle of it and make it a full body spinner.
Oh yeah, that could definitely work. Yeah.
I'll call it Scott Stevens.
There's one fight in this episode I really wanted to see that didn't happen, and it involves 2 guests, because I brought it up in the podcast, the preview podcast I was on. I was like, I would have loved to have seen Gabriel fight Crackers and Smash, because it would have been like Tom and Jerry, this huge robot chasing down these tiny little robots.
It would have been like 2 hockey pucks fighting a moving goal. Like the goal is moving around, the hockey pucks are just going under it, just...
Well, Alex and I did discuss the possibility of that happening, and we were like, how on earth are we supposed to fight this thing? Either we can't sandwich it from either side because it would just run straight over us. Neither of our weapons are going to reach. So it was either we go in under the wheels together and then split sideways in that instant to try and take out the wheels, knock the legs akimbo. But otherwise, we have no hope in hell.
You had a lot of attachments you could put on there, like you had those crazy chain antler things. You probably could have used something with that.
Just make a giant pole and stick it onto both.
There you go.
Well, now that you say that, I can just imagine putting a big net on the lifting arm. It's just like Dick Dastardly trying to catch the pigeon. Yeah.
Exactly. Speaking of Crackers and Smash, I guess we'll move on to you guys. Dave, the Young Bucks, Crackers and Smash, are in the Elite Heat. So
I felt so sorry for you.
oh my gosh!
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I will say this because as I consider this the Elite Heat because any team in this episode could have made it to the grand final because I think people really underestimate Crackers and Smash because you guys are really solid and Smash has a pretty decent drum on it. It's just a shame because with the huge opponents, you weren't really able to get much bite into it. But
I was talking with Jim Dramatic about.
I think the drum needs slightly more exposure, but the problem is if you have it sticking out too far, it's going to be fodder for more horizontals. Even, well, you saw what happened with Carbide last series.
yeah.
We did.
Prime target, unfortunately.
So, what improvements have you made to Crackers and Smash?
Well, actually, me personally, I had nothing to do with it.
Ah,
Reason being, but okay, I should say I wasn't supposed to be on the team again this season because one of the guys that developed the controllers for Crackers and Smash, he hadn't been on the previous series, whereas he was supposed to be. But for various reasons he wasn't. So he joined us for this series. That was Mike. You may have seen him. And because Keith, our machinist, was also supposed to be on the team, and I had to sacrifice my place, he got dumped with a load of work, and he had to leave the team. And I got a phone call the day I was coming up as a spectator, saying, "Dave, there's a spot on the team now. Do you want to come with?" Okay, fine.
All right, that's what I was wondering because I remember first because we actually met up during the filming of Series 10, and I believe you were with your wife as well, who was there with you. And yeah, I was just wondering, you spend a lot of time in the audience hut. I was just
that was the thing because Amy wasn't allowed into the pits. They were very strict on people not members of the team. Not even the people that were involved in organising it and such. They weren't allowed any of their parents in. The Behemoth team, their parents had to stay outside. The Apollo team, their parents had to stay outside. They were very strict. So,
well, it's good. It's good to have you. It's good to have you on TV again, though. Even though you were in the background a few times, but you know, it's always good to see Dave on TV because I know he's played a huge role on the live circuit. I believe you've hosted the UK or the Antweight World Series a few times, and
I've done that twice.
Yeah, we all love Dave. We all love Dave, right?
We love Dave and his gloves.
Oh yes. But it's a shame you guys didn't do well. But you know what? Considering the opposition you had, I mean, Eruption, Aftershock, Big Nipper.
I was gonna say let's talk about that fight.
Well, we still.
I knew drones were allowed, but this was taking it a bit far.
I think we'll get to the matches in a bit. Let's finish up the rest of the roster. I guess we got to talk about the seeded robots now because. Obviously, Ironside didn't return this year, but I think if they did, they would have probably been in this heat as well.
Yeah, we've got seats 1, 2, and 3 in the same heat.
Yeah, I know they don't use seeding systems, but we like to use seeds, so we'll go with the number 3 seed, Aftershock.
Will Thomas was really unlucky in this heat.
Yeah, that first match was definite confusion, and
Stop breaking the arena, Will!
Yeah.
In fairness, that wasn't his fault. He got thrown into it.
Actually, Smash broke the arena in that fight with Eruption as well, because when you got thrown into the wall, you cut a huge slice in the door, Polycarb.
I didn't notice that until afterwards. I wasn't informed about the cut until I got told by Alex, like, oh, look what we did. Like, oh, whoops.
Yeah, I was on that side of the audience when it happened. It was a very loud bang.
When I saw Aftershock actually hit the wall and go flying into the air, I swear to God, it was going to go right through the screen and just decapitate somebody.
Yeah,
that was terrifying.
That was one of the. It's cool, but given the layout of things, it was horrifying. Like I literally just went whoa. no when that happened.
Well, I think, me, Craig, and Dave all know of a certain thing that happens. It's actually teased in the next time trailer for episode 3 of something even worse happens.
Well,
Oh no.
Oh no.
let me say, I'm not going to spoil anything, right? I mean, do you remember when Aftershock's panel went and embedded in the wall? Right?
Yeah.
Well, so me and my friend Kerry Jenkins were sat right there when that happened, and it made us both jump out of our skins. I mean, we know this thing's a protected box, but still scary. I wasn't in the audience when this other incident happened. Amy was, and it scared the daylights out of her.
I was as well.
Cripes almighty. Yeah. It's a real shame because Will Thomas is a great guy, and if and I'm probably going to be saying this a lot, but if this had been in a different heat, I'm sure he would have made it to the grand final again. But with this much firepower between Big Nipper, Eruption, Carbide, and everyone else, it was going to be tough for him.
I have a lot of hope, to be fair with you. I mean, considering we were up against multiple FRA champions, the Robot Wars champion, and the driver of the new FRA champion, we were really outclassed, unfortunately. But we gave it a good go, and we got some entertainment out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You certainly gave us a lot of good moments.
Well, as Urinating Tree would say, and this is the kid-friendly version, either you were screwed or you were screwed.
Yeah. But to say about Aftershock, I mean, I honestly thought, again, with the new rebuild of it, the new robot, they had a better chance against Carbide, at least.
I thought they could have beaten them.
I think the biggest problem was I guess, it looked durable, but it seems to still be having trouble with its drive and weapon, because it lost drive in one of its wheels in a couple of its losses, and then the weapon gave up on it, and it ended up doing what we like to call the thing, which is getting stuck on your weapon.
But I mean, it caused the most damage. As well, also Gabriel caused the most internal damage.
Yeah, don't leave out Carbide. Craig, you still there, Craig?
I'm still here.
What do you think of the terrorizing Aftershock Teen Titans reference, yo?
Aftershock actually is a really good robot, and probably one of the only robots that actually Gabriel has a weakness against. The only real way you can defend against something like Aftershock is to get under it. And we don't stand a hope of ever doing that. So the thing is, I mean, Will is a brilliant driver, but he couldn't miss, you know. And that was that. Our only hope was that the entanglement would actually stop or slow down the disc. And unfortunately, it did actually work.
Didn't it work on the hit that killed you?
It didn't work on that. What happened was that I think actually Aftershock, after that fight, they had to actually swap the weapon motor. It had all gone stiff inside, and we'd actually strained something on the weapon drive. So
Ropes wrapped around it.
yeah, I think basically what happened is the tethers had wrapped around the shaft and just put so much resistance on the thing to turn that it actually kind of like gave the motor a bit of a hernia. So that was the end of that. But I mean, Gabriel actually did quite a lot of damage to the 3 robots it fought in this thing. I mean, we took out a motor and a speed controller on Big Nipper. We damaged the motor on Aftershock. And we damaged the wheel. We also damaged the battery packs, and I believe we also damaged the custom-made drive motor for the weapon on Carbide.
Yeah.
So
I mean, from what I remember, because I keep on saying because I was there, it was like Carbide didn't their sponsors as RC Components. They had to drive someone to the show with the batteries, the new batteries for Carbide.
They completely nuked the batteries. Nobody had spare capacity nobody had spare batteries that capacity or that cell. So,
well, hopefully it wasn't a 3-hour drive, was it? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know how far it was, but
I think they had an overnight delivery or something because that our fight was the last one for them to do that day, and so I think the 2-hour rule would perhaps wait in that particular instance.
Yeah. That 2-hour rule is just for the TV, isn't it? I mean, a lot of teams are given more than 2 hours for repairs, right?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the things that it's a minimum. You can have at least 2 hours, but you could have more.
They made it a minimum of 3 hours this season because of how brutal the last one was.
Yeah.
This was a brutal episode.
It's the heat of, as Alexthehunted would call it, Maxi Extreme Super Ultra Mega Death.
Exactly.
That's what I did call it. I think it's a better name than Elite Heat, anyway.
I don't know. We're wrestling fans, and
yeah.
we like to reference the Elite, which are like a faction of dudes over in Japan. So this was
let's not lie. I mean, that's not like this heat was basically, this could have been a grand final.
Exactly. This was a grand final worthy episode. Like, you look at all 6 of these teams, and it's like, wow, these guys must have done well in their heats, and then you realize, oh no, this is the heat. And it's like, wow.
And now let's move on to Eruption.
Yeah, the newly turned heel, Michael Oates.
I actually met him at a Robots Live event in Greenwich, and yes, I met him as part of my England trip that Dad and I took to last month.
Sorry we couldn't meet up, but I had work.
Yeah, Michael Oates, this guy, he definitely has one mindset, and that is, I got this robot together, I'm going to cause as much carnage as possible. He's like, I remember at this year's Robo Games, Danny, I believe his name, the guy who drives Toro Maximus, there was a match he had with a robot called Whoops, and in the middle of the match, the arena got breached, like a huge panel fell off of the wall, and people were saying, stop the fight, stop the fight, stop the fight, but Danny just kept going and going and going until he almost had to be restrained, and Michael, he seems to be, he has that mindset where he's razor focused. He's like, as soon as it says activate, he keeps going. He just keeps fighting. He just wants to get everybody out.
I mean, you can see the look in his face during his fights. Like, he is just squared on his robot and what's around him. Like, everything else is just a blur and doesn't exist.
I will say, yeah, Michael is a really nice fella. However, he is, like you say, he's ridiculously focused. Even in whiteboards, it's like, I'm going in, I'm going to get them out. And it's like, dude, this is just a knockabout. Don't take it so seriously. But that's the way he's had to hone his skills.
Is he going for the record on Out of the Arenas?
It would be a nice record for him to have. And I think, all things considered, he probably already has it.
Well, he is in the 10 Robot Rumble. Maybe he flips all 9 robots out of the arena.
This is just a personal thing from my perspective, and we'll probably get back on track once we get to the finals, but as much as I like Eruption, it's not my favorite flipper bot, at least from the modern series, but I always like flipper bots that go the distance, as in, like, they'll flip their opponents around the arena, but they won't go for the UDA until the final minute or so. That's the one thing that keeps me from saying that I'm a huge Eruption fan.
Like,
it always just goes straight for the out of the arena. Exactly. I'm pretty sure your kids can say that for sure, Craig.
Yeah, they certainly can. I mean, we've actually fought Eruption on the live circuit so many times. I wouldn't know how many. And against all the robots that we have except Gabriel, he tends to actually flip us out quite regularly. He's given up with Gabriel.
Yeah, I noticed because Gabriel has such a high ground clearance. I was always thinking, if it fights Eruption, is Eruption going to be able to flip it up? Because
it'll turn it over.
It'll turn it over, but I couldn't really see it like tossing it over the wall. But
I think Apollo...
maybe that claw add-on will actually have some use.
I actually, I could see Apollo going the distance with Gabriel.
Yeah.
2 white bots just whacking the shit out of each other.
So that sounded a little double entendre, didn't it, Alex? Two white bots whacking the shit out.
Or if it's on Tumblr, I'm a racist.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Let's not go down that route.
Yeah.
I swear I've seen Gabriel fight
Oop.
Apollo at live events. Great game, and they usually just ride straight over the top of it and like hits it on the way back over.
Yeah, we put a nice little V-nick actually in the back of Apollo, where we whacked it from the from behind one time, and I didn't notice until the end. It went in quite deep actually, so they've got a bit of welding to do to make that look sweet again. But
oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, as far as Eruption, indeed all the flippers are concerned, it's not just the fact that they can't reach us. It's the fact that two things. First and foremost, the geometry of the flippers is such that they look to not only just flip you up, but also flip you forward. And because our robot the bottom of our robot is at the same height of most of the hinges, it means all they can do is just lift us up in the air and then back down again. But because we're by definition invertible, it does absolutely no good at all. And so we do have this surreal situation where quite often, if there's a load of flippers in the arena and Gabriel, we just can go around to whomever we want and just hit them. And they basically can't, they don't dare actually turn and try and attack us, because as soon as they do, another flipper will flip them out. So we go around whacking whoever we want, whenever we want.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny the thing, like in those live events, which is it's mostly a sea of flippers. It's basically just Gabriel's the biggest decider because no one can really do anything against it.
Yeah.
I mean, what I want to say is because now Eruption and Apollo are in the 10-way, I hope they team up on Kill-A-Lot to get it over.
Oh, they definitely will. I'm
Please,
sure, because I know I've seen Gabriel on the live circuit, and it loves to have a go at whacking major damage on the head. Just a big
And Goliath.
and just whack him on the head, and you see sparks flying, and major damage is
Actually, Gabriel had a go at Kill-A-Lot in Series 8, didn't they?
We had a good go. In fact, we had a good go at Dead Metal first.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very deep Gabriel marks all over Dead Metal. I helped them move it for Insomnia, and I was just looking over it. Craig's hallmarks all over it.
Yeah, we've got a nice split in his head, actually. You can still see the red paint from the sword. It's one of those things that we were politely asked by the drivers of the house robots not to attack the house robots anymore. In Series 8, where we actually stopped attacking Beast.
Yeah.
Do you want us to hit you?
You want more?
You want more? And I was so close to actually just saying to Zach, "I'll pick on a house robot and kill it."
Yeah. Because you were having to go at Kill-A-Lot for a lot of that fight, because they just didn't show it in the edit. But I do remember like seeing a lot of background shots, like you were just basically at Kill-A-Lot, just beating the hell out of him.
Well, yeah, it's we like to go for the big guys, and my favorite robot to actually hit would be Matilda, because I think we could actually carve that one up. We could.
She's still fiberglass, isn't she?
That's right. We can sort of carve that into bacon.
Come on, it's not nice to hit a lady.
You'll break Jonathan Pierce's heart.
So yeah, I think, or Craig, one more thing to say before we move on?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know if anyone has noticed, but whenever Gabriel's in the arena, Matilda never is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they always
Matilda,
have this thing.
Matilda and Dead Metal were barely in this episode.
You know why? Because I believe Dave Young stated that whenever there was like a big spinner in the arena, they would always just have Kill-A-Lot and Shunt in there because they have those strong wedges at the front.
That makes perfect sense.
Because
really.
Dead Metal and Matilda, if Matilda was in there, she'd just get ripped apart basically by Carbide or Aftershock.
I mean,
Flipper took a chunk out of Matilda. I mean, you saw her got a bum cheek torn off by Apollo, or Dead Metal's claws got really ruined by Aftershock. I don't know if you saw any up close pictures.
Didn't Dead Metal didn't Aftershock write off Dead Metal's claws in the Series 9 Grand Final? They had to get brand new ones.
Yeah, they had to make a new set. Yeah,
and they gave it a camera to go with it.
I think that's a great shot place for a camera. I don't know why you don't like it. So.
It's kind of a weird place to put it, but I have actually grown to like it a little bit. Thing is, Dead Metal's kind of a camera hog since he's had like 3 of them on him. So I guess boy, we talked a lot more about other stuff. Eruption tough luck, but it goes through to the 10-way, and I guess we shall move on to the Heat winner, the number 1 seed, the reigning champion, Carbide.
I'm going to say this. It's nice to see a champion get a hard heat. Because usually it's been in the past, the Robot Wars, where the champion has had like an easy run in their heat. Like
Cough,
Razor's
cough.
had an easy run. Chaos 2 had an easy run. And I mean, Hypnodesk had, even though they won the champion, they had an extremely easy run in Series 4.
You know what I think the idea is about how some of the heats were booked? Like, if you look back, and with the exception of Apollo, every reigning champion was able to make it to the semifinals. But it's like sometimes it was usually because they had easy heats. I mean, Chaos 2 in Series 5 had a relatively easy heat.
Until the final.
Of course. And,
Which you don't see, but Smidsy put Chaos 2 in the pit and managed to get off the wall and push Chaos into the pit.
But they basically they want to see their champions go through. They don't want to see them go out so quickly. But Carbide, they managed to make it through to the Heat to the grand final, but it was a pretty tough going for them. I mean, obviously they got a tough competition with Gabriel, who really gave them a hard time. They took some good shots from Aftershock, who that's probably the most damage I've ever seen done to Carbide. Just huge gashes right along the side.
I don't know if you guys have seen any of the pictures on our page. The curl that he took out.
Yeah.
Of Carbide, Aftershock took out Carbide. Like,
I mean,
a bit of metal.
Dig like Carbide didn't get an easy time. I mean, I honestly do think like if the match went 5 minutes like it used to in the old, probably would have beaten Carbide.
And everybody would have been ecstatic.
Yeah, apart from all the Carbide fanboys. Carbide fanboys are the new Razor fanboys.
You know, nobody organised that cheering when they came back down the thing. All the Roboteers have the immense amount of respect for Gabriel. We all decided that robot deserves a standing ovation.
I gotta ask. I was gonna ask. At first I thought it was a producer decision, but whose idea was it?
I think that was a collective Roboteer decision. Like, because we knew it was going to come down, and just like there was all murmuring around the pit saying that guy needs a cheer on the way in, and so just all the Roboteers just went either side of the Walk of Light and just cheered it because it was a phenomenal fight.
I hope someone has a recording of like the pit or the Roboteers watching that fight, because I want it. Yeah,
I believe Jarvis from Vulture will do. I will have to ask him.
They have the new bar. They had the new bar, which you briefly saw in some of the pit shots, but they didn't use.
Well, they couldn't use it.
Was it too heavy?
No, it wasn't. It was too heavy. It was too big. The was something right. I'm sure Dave Molds will probably correct me on this, but apparently, when they spun it up in the test arena, it caused the mechanism to seize solid, like complete dead stop, and I think it was because it was oversized. It was catching on something which caused it to just seize up, so they couldn't actually use the new bar.
As far as going back to Carbide, I consider Carbide to be probably, like I say, one of the best bar spinners, and I'm hopeful that we'll have a rematch sometime.
I got to ask, if you were fighting Carbide again, Craig, would you switch out the mace and go for the sword again, or would you stick with the mace?
That's a very good question. I'm actually researching some ideas for different weapons. The great thing with an axe, it gives me the ability to swing very large, heavy hammer swords or whatever. I mean, give you an example of what I mean. The sword on Gabriel is about 11 or 12 kilograms, whereas the axe head on Thor, I think, is 1.1 kilograms.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a bit. I mean, Gabriel's hits slowly, but it hits like a train. You know, as some of the people in the live circuit will tell you. You know, on some of the venues, when Gabriel hits the floor, you can actually feel it under your feet.
I mean, you see it in the live recording, the live event recordings. Like, just every time you just hit Gabriel, just going on, it's just bang, 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 bang.
It does make a hell of a racket on the steel floor, I tell you.
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how much damage your sword does to that arena, Craig. I mean, because I have to do arena crew work for all of them. There's just so many screens that are just like, yep, Gabriel was here. Gabriel was here. Oh, that's definitely Gabriel.
I mean, everyone, like, for a while, people were going like, thwackbots are no longer effective in robot combat, but Gabriel came along and just completely blew that out the window.
You ask any of the spinners that were at the recent event in Gloucester. Oh, Gabriel doesn't do any damage. He managed to kill all of them.
So I think we're done covering all these ghoulish machines. We should start talking about the matches, and of course, we'll start off with Carbide versus Gabriel versus Big Nipper.
This was more like Carbide versus Gabriel because Big Nipper just kinda died off to the side.
Gabriel versus Carbide featuring Big Nipper.
Carbide versus Gabriel with Big Nipper as special guest enforcer.
And like I said before, this is my favorite match of the series so far.
Dear God, I was there. I was there for the recording of this fight. Like, the atmosphere in the audience for this fight was electric. This was an amazing fight.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus, I don't think I've seen this much debris on the arena floor since Hypnodisc versus Splinter.
Yeah, but it's the debris all over the floor, but the robot still worked at the end.
So basically the story of this match is Carbide is the reigning champion and the most dangerous robot in the UK. And Gabriel is the big plucky underdog whose chances are literally slim to none. But it still wants to get in there and try to survive. And Carbide just time and time again kept landing hits on Gabriel's wheels and just mangling them. And yet Gabriel just refused to die.
That damage was just superficial. I mean,
Yeah.
so I know I keep talking for Craig's robot, but
Razor versus Firestorm in the Bit Grand Final, that sort of fight. These are just two robots equally matched, and Gabriel is perfect for dealing with Carbide.
Well, with these horizontal spinners or spinners that are lower than Gabriel's body, all the impacts are going into the wheels, but they're not affecting the innards or any of the crucial bits. It's absolutely an ingenious design and just why I love Gabriel so much.
Yeah, but it was definitely an amazing effort by Gabriel. I mean, they managed to take out Carbide's wheel and went the whole distance, which is rare when you're fighting a fully working Carbide. And, you know, massive kudos to Toby and Gabriel. It's just a shame they lost because I would have liked to see them move on. Maybe even make it to the Heat final or the 10-way melee.
You can say that Gabriel was in Series 9 Grand Final. Technically, I mean, you had a whiteboard match with Behemoth again in Series 9, in between matches, didn't you?
Yeah, that was fun. We actually afterwards. The guy sort of said, look what you did here, look what you did there, because we sort of knocked lumps off of Behemoth. It's one of those things that so often on the television, you don't actually see the damage that Gabriel does to the other machines. Close up.
Behemoth usually comes up quite bad against Gabriel. It's usually socking great chunks missing out of those top pieces of polycarb.
Bring back damage cam.
We already have damage cam. It's called Facebook.
I'm going to say there was one occasion where I said to Zach, one of my sons on the live circuit, I said to him, if you get chance, there's £5 for you for every time you can knock those stupid lights off Behemoth. You know, the big sort of flashing lights on the top.
Yeah. The bulldozer lights.
Then Zach went at him like a demon possessed, and afterwards Kane came up to me and said, "Are we all right?"
Yeah.
We're just hammering 7 bells out, ignoring all the other robots except Behemoth. And I said, "Yeah, it's fine. I just told Zach that he can have £5 if he can knock one of your lights off the top."
I got to ask back to the Carbide fight. How much damage was done to Carbide's top from because it's plastic, isn't it? Carbide's top.
I don't know actually. I don't think there was most of the. First and foremost, what I'd say with this is we had sort of like Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C for Carbide. Plan A was the entanglement, but we spent that on Big Nipper, so we didn't have much left of that. Plan B was to actually get the mace, which is why we chose that, jammed into the bar and break it. That didn't work. So we would go for Plan C, which basically was charging at Carbide, knowing full well. I mean, basically, if you're going in with a bar spin and you've got plastic wheels, the wheels are going to be wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was to actually use the wheels as the means of actually draining the batteries down on Carbide.
Steven said in his review when he uploaded his episode review, like when he saw the batteries after they had to be taken out and put in a box outside of the arena. When he had a look at them, they just basically swollen and warped.
That's what happens when lipos get overworked. They get really puffy, and then you just have to yank them out, put them in a can, and dump sand on them to try and calm them down.
Discharge, but these guys, they were that close to the limit they couldn't have recovered them, but they didn't quite catch fire.
Which makes me think again, if this match went to 5 minutes, Gabriel probably would have won, and Carbide would have done a chomp a lot.
Yeah, we would have had a wonderfully toasty lipo fire at the end,
which also Gabriel caused.
You know what I really liked in the middle of the fight? Something goes flying right towards the booth where Dara and Angela are standing, and then you just hear Dara just say, "Jesus."
Yeah, if you know Dara, he probably had a split second to remember that it's not the watershed yet, and he couldn't swear.
So Nate, your final thoughts on this match?
Well, this was definitely a great match, and I think it's in my top 2 for matches in the series so far. But I think I'm going to have to give the edge to Behemoth versus Apollo, and it's simply because it was so much fun seeing Ant Pritchard not just win, but to win a heat and take out a UK champion in the process. Just seeing Anthony celebrating with his chums as they pitted Apollo was just cathartic. But that's not to diminish Carbide versus Gabriel, as both robots went all the way, barely moving at the end. That's the kind of fight that I love. So Carbide versus Gabriel, excellent match. Excellent match.
So Carbide ends up winning the judge's decision, and Gabriel and Big Nipper go to the redemption rounds. And now we can move on to the other 3-way, which was Eruption versus Aftershock versus Crackers and Smash.
Oh god, we're going to have to talk about this moment.
Yeah. First thing I really got to say is, what is the point of having 2 drivers pods if you're just going to stick all the drivers in one of them and have Dara and Angela just watch it by themselves in the other? I swear, there's like 20 people in that one pod.
How are they going to do it for the 10-way? Is it just going to be all the teams crammed up in one, and then just Dara and Angela have one all to themselves?
You know, Alex raised a good point about how the fog of war is kind of a stupid hazard, because if the drivers can't see, then the audience can't see. Well, I think we now have a hazard that's just as effective, if not more effective than the fog of war: the control pods! Because what has been the big issue that's been cropping up over the past 2 series? None of the Roboteers can see into the corners. So why do they even bother?
In terms of review, just to say, in terms of Roboteers' views, if we were in the middle, it probably would have been better, because trying to see in the opposite corner to where whatever you're in is a pain in the arse.
That's what you see in most of the fights. Are the robot drivers just leaning over? That's all you see in most of the fights.
Payne climbed on the glass last season.
Yeah.
I just fear the day is going to happen when somebody just falls right through the glass into the arena, and then it just becomes Final Destination with Robot Wars, which actually sounds awesome when you think about it.
I can't wait for the Daily Mail headline on that.
See, with that out of the way, there was a bit of a kerfuffle that happened in the driver's pod in the middle of this fight. Basically what happened was Aftershock went after Crackers and Smash. They went by the floor flipper, which activated, and Aftershock just annihilates the side of the floor flipper.
That was only the 3rd fight recorded for that series, and the flipper had already broken in the first fight.
Wow. And then right after that, somebody was saying to stop the fight. Dave, what was going on here?
It was someone from Team Smash, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing was, they thought they were going to stop the fight because they'd wrecked the arena flipper, but that rather Ian from our team did. And we didn't really need to stop the fight. He was the one that kept saying stop, stop, stop because the arena was damaged. It was just the arena effect. The arena stop damage would be the wall or the screens.
Or the floor, isn't it? It's like if the safety isn't compromised, then just continue fighting.
Exactly, and unfortunately, because Ian was saying, stop, 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 that's why the other Ian Thomas, told Will to spin down. As he did so, he came to a halt. Nope, the lights were all still on. We just carried on going, and in goes Eruption and boots it into the door, where it took that massive chunk out.
Will Thomas, stop destroying our arena, for crying out loud!
I've got to add, those barriers are made out of railway sleepers, aren't they? I believe.
I don't think so. I think it's plate hardox over like really thick wood with steel frame behind it. I mean, there's an up close picture on the Crackers and Smash web page you can have a look at. Might be able to give you a little more idea as to what's they're actually made of.
To me, it really looks like those walls are the most secure parts of the arena, because if you look at the side walls all around the rest of the arena, we've had robots slam into them and they just pop off like nothing. It's like if Roman Reigns hit a spear on a guy through the wall, I guarantee the wall would just fold in on itself.
No, the side walls are strong enough. It's the bolts that hold them on aren't strong enough. Aren't they designed to? From what I heard, they were designed to it. It's better for the robot to bounce off and for the plate to fall off than for the bar just to go straight through it.
Too often. I mean,
yeah.
There's only a few machine screws that were holding them on, and then they put a steel brace behind the middle of the plate for this series to avoid the amount of times it kept popping off the rivets. So
it still didn't work.
Not as much as it did, because you threw a robot into it and it popped the panel, but it won't do that now. It will come off still, but it will take a hell of a lot more of a hit.
Even with all the insanity going on in the booth, it didn't affect Michael at all, since he was still in killing mode. And he just proceeds to OOTA everybody. He sent Aftershock out, Crackers out, Smash out.
Oh, no, wait. I have to talk about this moment, because this is probably my favorite, actually no, second favorite out of the arena in this heat. So, Eruption has Aftershock beached on its wedge. And Eruption flips Aftershock up and over. Aftershock lands on the arena entrance gate and is just sent flying out of the arena into the trench. When I watched this live, I went, whoa! As Aftershock just obliterated the entrance gate. Or I should say, Eruption did it, because it's the one flipping the robot with the big spinning disc into the wall.
The chunk that it took out of that barrier as well. That's not repairable. I think it's pretty much going to be there for the rest of the series.
You know, we have a saying here in the Northeast that in the battle between robot and arena, the arena always wins. Not in this fight!
The arena got damaged in 4 places in this fight. It got damaged on the floor, the flipper, the barrier, and the door, the entrance door.
They literally just cut the barrier, the door piece off and replaced it with a new one, because they had some spare one. And they gave the bit that had a massive chunk out of it, gave it to Will.
Oh, we'll see what happens. So yeah, Eruption gets the win.
You know who else didn't win in this fight? Will Thomas. Yeah, because apparently his good friend Michael Oates, apparently he turned heel on Will Thomas and tossed him out of the arena.
I wonder if that pact was true, or they just made it up for TV.
Well, I'm pretty sure that Michael's gonna have a lot of explaining to do to Will on Sam Elliott's podcast.
And I know that Will and Michael are really good friends. They're normally on the same side, but when it comes to Robot Wars, it's you kill or be killed. And Will knows if he turned his back on Michael, he would have been thrown out, or vice versa. Aftershock would have just torn Eruption a new vent hole. So
hopefully his podcast won't turn into Jeremy Kyle's show.
Yeah. So Eruption gets the wins and the 3 out of the arena flips in a match which I believe is a TV record, because I know Dan Tom Kia was able to get 3 robots out in one of his matches, but one of them wasn't televised. So I guess technically does it count? I don't know. But yeah, Eruption gets the win. So we'll move on to the redemption rounds, starting with Gabriel and Aftershock.
Yeah, it was a shame to see Gabriel to go out like this, but then again, Aftershock was probably the worst opponent you could have faced.
Aftershock's disc was the right height to hit the main components of Gabriel, which is such a shame because I love Gabriel so much.
Yeah, so Craig, what were your thoughts going into this match?
Basically, I had a lot of faith in the ability for us to actually deploy the entanglement device. Faith that experience to show me was misplaced. I would say that for this particular match, we knew the only real way we were going to win is to actually immobilize the disc. And so that was essentially all we could do. Again, we had a plan A and a plan B. Plan A was to use the entanglement, and fortunately, the entanglement worked. Unfortunately, it worked on the wrong side. We wanted to actually put the entanglement on the side of the shaft that actually has the drive belt, but all of them seemed to actually attach around the other side of the disc, where there was nothing really much for the entanglement to stop. However, it did actually impede the bearings, and it actually put an extra load on the motor. And if you actually listen carefully, you can hear a sort of a clacking noise. And these are actually the nuts that were knotted on the end of the entanglement devices, actually beating the side Hardox panels of Aftershock. It was kind of like beating itself up.
You can see that, you can see that in the slow-mo. It's basically just their own weapon was beating up their own robot.
Yeah, it actually did bend the back panel slightly, if memory serves me correctly. And again, one of those things, we ran out of time. All we needed was a little bit longer, and I believe that the weapon motor would probably have failed them. Like I said, it needed to be replaced. But unfortunately, they got one hit and one really, really good hit. And believe it or not, it was actually the battery elimination circuit.
Was the removable link?
No, it was just sliding switch, and the robot went up and the switch stayed still, and it literally switched the radio with it.
And then Kilowat just came in and decapitated you.
Yeah, that was just mean.
Yeah, the thing was that I actually got Sarah, one of the team, during the question time right at the beginning of the filming, to say to the production team, if we chopped off Kilowat's head, could we keep it?
And then Kilowat overheard you backstage and he said, "What was this about you wanting to cut off my head?" Snip!
Plus the fact I think Kilowat got a bit of stick from Series 8, where they actually did genuinely try and chop the pickaxe thing off on the iron ore. Not the iron ore, it was Ironside, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, the grill. Where in actual fact, the Roboteer was driving, did try and actually cut the end off the arm that time, but he actually grabbed onto the steel, and Kilowat couldn't do it. So this time they decided they were gonna do it.
Kilowat's claw in Series 8 was the wrong shape for picking up robots. Really, I mean, I'm glad they reshaped it anyway.
There is a good likelihood that if we are for a Series 4, that Kilowat and Gabriel may have a little conversation.
I want to see a house robot rebellion again. Have Apollo and Gabriel versus Kilowat.
I'm up for it if they are.
Yeah.
Nate, any final thoughts?
Not really much to say. Gabriel put up a valiant effort, tried its best using its entanglement device, but, in the end, the powerful big spinner just came out on top. Not much to it, although, as much as I'm gonna hate saying this, seeing Gabriel get decapitated like that is strangely satisfying in a Robot Warsy kind of way.
So yeah, Aftershock ends up getting the win by knockout, and Gabriel gets sentenced to the basement, and I was very sad. And then we go on to the other redemption match, which was Big Nipper versus Crackers and Smash. Dave, do you want to give your thoughts on this match?
Well, what really can we say about it? I mean,
Crackers smash and fly.
Yeah, this.
Okay, Brandon, let me take over for this one because I have my own thoughts on this match. So, Big Nipper is having a go at both Crackers and Smash, and it pretty much just dings up the lifter of Crackers while going after Smash. So, So, Big Nipper has Crackers in the corner over by the arena wall, and then, well, you know how in Robot Arena 2 on occasion when you hit your robot, it'll just go flying as the game glitches out? Well, that's basically what happened here. Big Nipper hits Smash with its flywheel, and then BOOM! Smash is sent flying, and it hits the ceiling and the lights, and just falls right out of the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the coolest out of the arena ever.
Yeah, this just showed just how freaking powerful Big Nipper is. I mean, this was the mother of all SOOTAs. He got super kicked out of the arena.
So it took me by surprise because I'm trying to get Crackers, to go over to Big Nipper after Killalot had sat on me, but it's obviously something could jam. And then all of a sudden they hear this horrendous bang. I look up, and I saw Big Nipper sat there. Didn't see Smash, and then I heard it clatter into the lights. And like, oh yeah.
I mean, even the slow-mo replay, Smash is just there, and then it's gone.
Yeah, it was literally just that. I heard the bang, looked up, then heard the clatter into the lights. Like, well, I didn't even know what it was originally, and it's like, hang on.
I mean, I can cry. I mean, in one hit, Big Nipper has 2 Robot Arena records. It's got the highest out of the arena, and it's the first robot to get another robot into the ceiling. And I think they also took out 12 lights. Well, Smash took out 12 lights, hitting the.
I had a double check with the Nipper team the other day, and we took out 2. Well, I say we. They took out 2 lights and 1 camera.
I'm sure the BBC were thrilled with you.
You guys didn't end up having to pay for the damage, did you?
No, thankfully not. I would say it wouldn't have been a cheap one either, because the figure that was floating around from the guys from production would have been a cost of $9,000.
You could buy half a Rapid with that.
Now, Dave, robot builders, they always have goals. One of them is to build a robot and compete on Robot Wars. The other is to win Robot Wars. But I've never heard of anybody whose goal was it to have Sir Killalot sit on them.
I can't say that was planned, but it was quite funny. It certainly made for entertainment.
I gotta ask, when Killalot was driving around in circles, was that Crackers pushing it, or was that Killalot?
6 of 1 and half dozen, I think, because I was trying to get out, and every time he moved, I sort of tried to run forward, and my lifter was getting caught underneath him, so he's just having a hell of a job getting off. So just ended up spinning around on top of it. It was like so much tire track marks on the top of it when it came out.
I gotta say, how damaged was Crackers after going underneath? Because I don't know if I can't remember much myself, but was one side just broken after it drove out?
I think I wasn't quite sure what it was. I have a funny feeling that the belt had come off on one side because it had been pressed down. I think one of the flanges had come off the pulley, so that side was like non-existent after it had been sat on. I think it was still running, but it was just like it couldn't drive properly.
And also, got to ask: is Smash written off?
No. We that's it. What we did when we took it back, and because obviously there was a potential thing we could go back in because of, I think it was something to do with Carbide. We cut the base panel where it had been bent, and we cut out the side armor that had been hit by Big Nipper, and just made a new armor panel out of some random Hardox that happened to be laying around. And Callum welded up a new part of the shell for us. So it was fine. The internals, nothing wrong with the internals whatsoever. It was just shell.
Now, did the producers end up giving Graham the light and then stuck a note to it that said, "Break another one of these and you die"?
Oh, I must admit, I was wondering if they were going to give it to him. But I don't
Didn't
think
they just
did.
plug them? Didn't they just plug them back in?
Sorry?
Didn't they just change the bulb and plug them back in? That's what I seem to remember from recording. Because obviously, like Apollo took out one of the lights when it threw out Duck, and I think they just plugged it back, changed the bulb, and plugged it back in.
Well, I think that might have been on one of them, but one of them was actually damaged because you can see the flap that was just hanging off it.
Yeah.
But one of them was, they couldn't reuse it again.
I can't. I hope the robot they give those away in auctions, like like they give parts because they were supposed to for the TR2 auction, but for some reason they couldn't. I hope they do it. They do it for the next one.
For £3,000, you can have an autographed piece of a broken stage light from Robot Wars.
It doesn't work anymore.
All funding goes to our building of our new arena. Now with 3 layers of Lexan.
I've noticed that there's 2 robots that have a habit of breaking the arena. One is Aftershock, and the other is Crackers and Smash. But that's usually when the robot is pelted towards the arena. Because Series 9, it was Smash being held at the arena sidewall by Carbide, and in this one it was both it hitting the door and it being ejected by Big Nipper.
I tell you what, we start calling our opponents, kids in glass houses, because they shouldn't be throwing it. Or name our robots stones, just getting thrown around the place, just smashing up things.
Yeah, or you have a drone in next series, and you're just like, now let's try and flip that one out, and then they do.
Then Craig comes along with a rake.
Yeah. Here's a question for you, for the Crackers and Smash. If Crackers and Smash had to fight the Swarm, how do you think it would have gone?
I think we'd have won because Blender. I would have taken Blender. I would have concentrated on Blender, and Alex could have taken the drum to the other ones, which were quite passive by comparison. So
Yeah.
Because I think Crackers was more designed to take the spinner hits because it's got a 10mm thick Armox front on it.
Ooh.
That's because it has a lighter weight weapon. So I think Crackers would have been okay taking out Blender, and Alex would have been quite happy going around to the various smaller machines and having at them.
Yeah.
You guys have a considerable weight advantage over them. Doesn't Crackers and Smash weigh like 70 and 40 kilos?
No, they're a lot closer together than that. I think Smash is 60 and Crackers is 50.
Because it's the 55% rule, isn't it? Because you've got to be able to take both of them out to win.
Yeah, because with the maths of it, Smash is 54% weight. So you have to take. That's why you have to take us both out.
It's a really strange way of bending the clusterbot rule, but for the most part it worked, just not in this particular heat. So yeah, Crackers and Smash go out along with Gabriel.
Both your guests are now out.
Yeah, but you guys can still stay here. We love the company. It's all good. Don't leave me here with Nate. He's out of his mind. So the next match is Aftershock versus Carbide, but first, can we talk about the Will Thomas face?
Yeah, the Will Thomas edit. What
Right,
was the editor thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in here and say the guy that does the robot announce Carbide spinner. God, that freaking irritates me.
I still say it sounds like Merrick Ishtar from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged after he got Melvined.
Screw Merrick Ishtar, the announcer's gone full Cobra Commander this series. Aftershock spinner!
Donald Thump, vertical spinner.
I would like to do a day in the life of that guy. With that guy, it's like, hey honey, what would you like for tea? I would like a pie with chips.
Seriously, the profile Team Shock, and the first thing you see is Ian Thomas in the bottom right corner working on the robot, and the left half is completely in black with the exception of Will Thomas's face being lit up. Seriously, I want to know who did the lighting for this thing, because good lord, that face, man.
But it's like that image of Will, and because you can clearly see from the screenshot where the editing was, because they basically just went to Photoshop and just blackened around where Will was standing, and then just faded around where his head was. Like, I don't get that. Were they trying to create a meme?
Well, we've already gotten several memes of Will Thomas's giant floating head. My favorite one is when they photoshopped it into Zordon's tube from Power Rangers.
I am actually checking the Facebook page right now, and somebody actually made a shot of Will's face, and it looks like Phil Collins' face on one of his albums. It's amazing.
I did it with him in the Doctor Who time tunnel.
I've not seen that one. We have a discussion group on Facebook, and our new chat group picture is one of Will's faces in this meme situation.
Alpha, Kilolot has escaped. Teleport to us 5 Roboteers with attitude.
I love it.
So, Carbide versus Aftershock 2. Aftershock now has this brand new anti-Carbide spinner, which looks a lot like Cobalt's, and it's got thicker armor. The good news is, nobody died. The bad news is, this match was also kind of short. While I say I do enjoy a good spinner-on-spinner match, and technically this was much better than the last one.
All I'm gonna say is spinner versus spinner matches are great, but they're always short.
There aren't too many spinner-on-spinner fights that tend to go the distance.
Yeah. Aftershock actually did get some good shots in on Carbide, and I will say this was the most damage I've ever seen Carbide receive. Unfortunately, what happened was Aftershock ended up losing drive, and then the weapon went, and then the robot died altogether, so it was a good effort by Will, but it still wasn't enough to take out the mighty Carbide. Craig, you want to give your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. As far as this particular fight's concerned, what I'd say is that Aftershock is a fantastic robot. Really, really good. However, it does go to show how good Carbide is to be able to take that kind of energy back through itself and just carry on going. I think this is where Carbide has the advantage over pretty much all the other spinners, is it can deliver devastating hits time after time after time after time, as I found out. So often spinners are, a one-trick pony. Basically, they go up to another robot, hit it, and hope that robot dies, and that's the fight.
Yeah, that's what separates Carbide, because there are spinners that are technically more powerful than it, but it's built so well that it's one of the few spinners that can take what it dishes out.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Like as we say, with going back to the original series, that's what ended up killing off Hypnodisc, it was getting up to the speeds now where it needed to be able to take the hits, and Hypnodisc was a great machine, but in the later series it just couldn't take the damage it was dishing out.
Yeah, it was basically knocking itself out at that point.
This was a decent fight. I'd say it was a lot better than the last one that they had, mostly because Aftershock didn't kill anybody with its panels flying through the glass, but for a spinner versus spinner fight, it wasn't bad. Plus, Aftershock got a few good hits on Carbide, so for once we actually had something that posed a threat to Carbide, unlike last series where it practically squashed all of its opponents.
But yeah, that was Carbide versus Aftershock, The Reckoning. And Carbide gets the win again. So now we get the other semifinal match, Eruption versus Big Nipper. This match did go the distance, although mostly it was Eruption on the offense. Big Nipper just couldn't seem to get a bite in anywhere on Eruption.
Big Nipper was doing a lot of gyro dancing. In fact, it looked like it wasn't really getting much traction in the arena floor with those hockey puck wheels it had.
I mean, that's a problem with Big Nipper, because the disc can spin up so fast that if they turn too quickly, the robot can just flip over, I believe.
Do you think if Big Nipper had gone with the claws rather than the disc, do you think they would have had a better chance of getting under Eruption and flipping them over?
I thought that they would have gone with the claws because they've got these stoppers on the top of them. If they had put the claws either side of the flipper and then just, they could have pushed it onto its back wheels and put it into hazards, house robots, what have you. So I think they missed a trick there.
I mean, Big Nipper has fought a robot that's kind of the same shape as Eruption when it fought Grim Reaper in Series 7.
Exactly.
So Eruption just kept going in, getting some good flips in on Big Nipper. Big Nipper just couldn't seem to get the disc to really penetrate in on them, and we got the Fog of War a little bit at some point.
God, that hazard is so stupid. I mean, what's even the point of it?
Actually, here's a perfect chance to ask, because we've got two Roboteers here. What's the Roboteer's opinion on the Fog of War? Because that also appeared in this fight.
Sucks!
Most of the Robot Wars fans don't like it.
I think it actually makes a nice visual sort of thing. To be brutally frank for Gabriel, it doesn't make any difference because the wheels are so big.
You can see it.
Anyway, so I like it.
Me, personally, it annoys me. I don't see the purpose because everybody's just going to sit there until their fog clears because, not only can your opponents not see what they're doing, you can't either. There's no point you barreling around blindly because you run into a house robot or potentially a pit if it's already open.
I mean, it's if the audience can't see, how is that supposed to make good television? And also, like Jim put it best, you might as well have just turned the robots off for 10 seconds.
No, I completely agree with you. It just doesn't really add anything to me because I want to hear this from an audience perspective. If you could add another hazard in place of Fog of War, what would you guys pick?
I don't know, maybe an EMP?
I would probably shut down the whole studio. But no, I'm fine with the pit and the Rogue House robot features. I just don't want to see this Fog of War bullshit ever again. Because it just doesn't make good TV.
Honestly, I think that Rogue House robot's fine, it's just too short.
Somebody did say to me about having random spikes come up from around the floor, not just in that particular panel, just around the floor. And I'm like, no, we don't want to.
We don't want Series 3 again.
No, God no.
Yeah, I have a feeling that perhaps we could do with a sort of Indiana Jones type thing, where this
giant ball just rolls across the room. I love that.
600mm diameter solid steel balls just down on chutes like some sort of marble run, and they're just sort of going in different directions, sort of knocking robots everywhere. I think that'd be quite fun.
So sometimes like how the drop zone was. Sometimes the drop zone had bowling balls come out of it.
I don't think the arena could take it.
True.
But yeah, this was a pretty one-sided match for the most part.
Can I just actually add something?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. It's with regards to this fight, I found it technically one of the most interesting. Not a lot happened, I agreed, but as far as sort of like trying to get juxtapositions, it's a bit like a game of chess, only with robots. They were trying very hard to get the upper hand all the time. Technically, it was actually quite an interesting fight. But,
I would agree. Like it's a brilliant drivers match.
Yeah, it was a Roboteers fight. It was one of the Roboteers go, I can see what he's trying to do. I can see what they're trying to do. A lot of the time, people just thought that Big Nipper was running away, but he was buying time and trying to actually get enough distance so that he could actually approach a game, but from a different angle.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically just a case of Big. I mean, cause how long does Big Nipper take to get up to speed? It's a few seconds, isn't it? It was basically just running away to get up to speed. Get up to speed now, boys.
It was one of those unfortunate ones where the first contact was going to bend up either the flipper arm or the little prongs on the front of Big Nipper. And unfortunately, Big Nipper lost the fight almost on the first hit, purely and simply because the prongs bent up, so that there's no way to get under the front. If they hadn't have bent up, it would have been curtains for Eruption.
Yeah, it was one-sided, but I will say it was not a boring match. It was certainly fast-paced, and Big Nipper still managed to hang in there and go the full 3 minutes.
It was a very. I don't think people should write it off as a boring match because it technically wasn't. Because there was a lot of good moments. Like my favorite moments was when Eruption flipped up Big Nipper, and then Big Nipper came down on the disc onto Eruption's flipper. I thought, hang on a second, Eruption could be in a lot of trouble if that did some damage there.
Yeah, and that's why I said I really like Big Nipper because it's amazingly engineered and the weaponry is really effective, and I want to see it do well in the 10-way. But yeah, in the end, Eruption got the win on a judge's decision and goes to the Heat Final. So for a spot in the 10-way, we get Aftershock versus Big Nipper in a big vertical spinner versus vertical spinner clash. And I really enjoyed this match.
I did as well. Actually, I think this was better than Carbide versus Aftershock, the rematch.
Yeah, this was a good vertical spinner versus vertical spinner match. It was short and sweet, but unlike some other spinner versus spinner match, I wouldn't say it was a boring match. They both got some good hits in, and we got one hit that sent both robots across the arena, which was super cool. But yeah, they both got traded blows, and then Big Nipper hit Aftershock, and then Aftershock, as Brandon said, did the thing.
And I love Noel Sharkey's reaction in the middle. He's like, how are they still moving? It was great. But the biggest factor was that Big Nipper had those little wedgelets, so they were able to get right underneath Aftershock's wedge and just get more hits in.
Its weapon motor died again, didn't it? And actually, no, it seized up, didn't it?
Yeah. I think this is one of those ones where Big Nipper was just the right type of spinner to actually beat Aftershock. I don't think it was actually driver error. I think it was just down to the fact Aftershock, when you actually face Aftershock, it presents a very long, wide front. Really and truthfully, Aftershock is exactly the wrong sort of. It has too big a front for it to be able to defend all of it. And Big Nipper managed to get the prongs underneath, and then the disc just ate away at the front. And as soon as that happened, it made it very difficult for Aftershock to defend itself. And from that moment on, Big Nipper just kept on knocking lumps out. Eventually, Aftershock's motor packed up again. The disc stopped spinning, so they couldn't self-right.
I mean, there was that what caused it? You know, that big hit where two of them basically just flew opposite sides of the arena. Like, was that both of them hitting together, or was that one just like Big Nipper getting another big hit?
I think discs touched actually on that.
Yeah. Oh god, I love spinner fights. They're short, sweet, but yeah.
So unfortunately, it means that Aftershock is eliminated, but Big Nipper gets to go through to the 10-way rumble.
And for once, Aftershock may be out, but hey, at least part of their robot isn't embedded in the arena wall.
Yes. Oh, again, if this had been a different heat, I'm sure Aftershock would have had better luck.
Here's a question for fans and the Rocketeer is, I'm guessing Will's probably thinking about upgrading, like redesigning Aftershock or making a brand new robot. How would you upgrade it, or just enter Manta?
I think Aftershock doesn't really need a lot of outward modifications. Will's done a very, very good job on getting the dimensions correct. The problem that he had was by increasing the weight and speed of the disc, is he increased the gyroscopic effect over and above what the chassis could cope with. And so ways he could actually improve it. I mean, at the end of the day, the old disc at the old speed did lots of damage, and he had better control. So it may be worthwhile reverting back to a slower speed and a smaller disc to actually, and then actually concentrate on just making the thing tougher and making it able to withstand hits.
Yeah.
And for that route, sometimes bigger isn't better.
Yeah, I mean, look at we'll see later. Look at Apex and stuff. I mean, and also considering that Will also basically was looking after two teams this series because he was also but he was doing a lot of work for Traction as well.
This isn't the last time we'll see Will Thomas face this year. So yeah, unfortunately we just lost Dave, but now we've made it to the Heat final, so we're almost done. So after an entire heat of insanity and carnage and collateral damage, we get to the Heat final. The big grudge match between the top two seeds, Carbide and Eruption. And it was pretty boring.
This Heat final was pretty much a foregone conclusion. kind of like the NBA playoffs, where you kind of expect what's going to happen in the final.
I'm not to insult, but it kind of felt like a Series 9 heat final.
Yeah, all that happened was Carbide got a few hits on Eruption lost drive, and then died altogether. It's basically every Eruption versus Carbide match you've ever seen to date.
I mean, looking at the slow-mo, it kind of looked like the Eruption didn't die. It's just that they stopped moving on purpose to limit the damage because they knew they weren't going to win this fight and they had to go in the 10-way.
No, because if you look closely, you can see that Eruption's wheel locked up, so they weren't able to really move, and that pretty much just did them in.
Exactly, yes. It was down to one of the drives failed on one of the sides, and that's the reason why they lost, really. What I say is Michael was probably the most upset about putting on a good show. He really quite himself and the robot that it didn't actually put on a better performance for that last one. He didn't mind losing, but he wanted to lose well.
I mean, Eruption didn't even get a flip in, which was really a shame because Eruption didn't. Did they even fire the flipper once? I don't think they did.
The thing to understand is, I think it was 8mm Armox on the side of the robot, and Carbide actually cleaved a slot in it.
Wow.
Carbide really is that good. It is a fantastic robot.
Yeah, it's tough, but no, again, I refer to this as the elite heat because anyone could have made it to the top 3. It's just that it was so tough.
I mean, it was basically the draw because technically Aftershock finished 3rd in its opening melee. That's why it went up against Gabriel. So if it was against Crackers and Smash, I probably would have said that maybe Gabriel could have made the heat final or even or at least the 10-way.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Carbide manages to survive everybody and make it through to the grand final. And I will say this, it was a great episode, but it was kind of damped down a bit by the final match. But, again, what it really came down to, it is good to see Carbide at least Carbide got some competition and it wasn't a complete squash like some of the other champions have had. But overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I think I liked Heat A little bit more. So yeah, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it an 8.5. What rating would you give it, Nate?
I'm gonna give this episode an 8 out of 10. I mean, there were definitely a lot of wow moments in this heat, but I think the Heat final kinda killed it, and I think the fights in Heat A were a lot more exciting than the ones in Heat B. Heat B had more destruction, but come on, the final of Heat A was just so cathartic with what happened between Behemoth and Apollo. But that's my final rating. It's an 8 out of 10. Great heat, but I've seen better.
Yeah, we got some great fights, some shocking moments, and even a new meme.
I mean, Robot Wars is becoming a meme. So we got that. We got Behemoth. We got Ant walking out. We got Will walking. We got Will's magic floating head now.
Yeah, the more memes, the merrier. I hope we get to see our new Eric. But yeah, Heat C is next Sunday, and we get to see the return of Terahertz and Rapid. We have Craig Danby, who's going to be a special guest joining with us. And also a new Roboteer from the Vulture team, Adam Hamilton, is going to be joining us as well. So that should be a lot of fun, and I'm really enjoying Series 10 so far. But until next week, I'm the Hardcore Kid.
And I'm Otaku Nate.
I'm Alex, who seems to be appearing more on other people's YouTube channels than his own.
I'd just like to say it's been an honor and a privilege.
Oh, it's been an honor to finally talk. It's been an honor to talk to you, honestly. As a rookie Roboteer, talking to a guy who's done it, worn the T-shirt, it just feels so good.
And unfortunately, we lost Dave, so I'll do my best Dave Weston impression. I'm Dave, and I'm part of Crackers and Smash. Let's get cracking and start smashing. So, yep. Until next week, guys. Peace out. Cease and desist.
Just too sweet!